Yeah. Yeah.
Look at me.
Benchmark. They're speaking the facts that you wanna hear. The rapper jersey, the vision is clear. Diamonds glisten like a chandelier. You know what I'm here for, like Marshawn Lynch. At clutch time, we do not flinch. Real brothers, we do not switch. Hit home runs with the right pitch. Who run the city? What to do when they hating on you? I feel like Kobe 2010. I ain't taking the L, all I need is a win. Business is business, you know how they go. You glad the seats, now it's time to grow. Tuning now, gotta be in the know. Showtime, bitch, my butter blow.
I ain't seen from now. Bowser was really. I was trying to tell y'all.
Benchmark Podcast. What's up, bro?
Yeah, welcome back to another episode of the Bench Mob ENT. We are back, and before we even start with the introductions, I have not been doing my job well in regards of letting y'all know y'all gotta like it, y'all gotta subscribe, make sure you turn the notifications on, get that little bell ringing so you know when we drop more content. And of course, you gotta rate us 5 stars on all streaming platforms, leave a review. We trying to grow just like you trying to grow in your life. So everything matters, everything helps. So definitely do all those things. Now, to get into the introductions, we got Greg, Debate Your Mother, Hot Takes, Sinsmere in the building tonight. Bench Mob, ENT, how you doing tonight?
I'm good, bro. I'm good.
I was about to spit a quick 12 right there. I was about to.
Yeah, he was about to go on a rant. No, I'm good, bro. I'm doing well. Kai had that 50 ball last night. I'm feeling good, you know.
And back from his hiatus, we got CJ Moneybags in the building tonight. How are you doing tonight?
Well, man, like you said, back from a little hiatus. Happy to be back. The Dawn is back. Wish Miles was here. We have a full squad back. We haven't a full squad in a minute. But
Yeah, we like the Lakers.
No,
Yeah,
Miles not being here has afforded me this nice chair, which he's not getting back. So
Yeah.
it's fine by me.
you got the high chair today.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just like the Lakers roster. There's always somebody up.
You'd think it'd be in my contract, you know, all the stuff I'm doing for the show. I get a nice chair. I gotta talk to him. I gotta talk to Miles about this.
I know I gotta update chairs. And whatnot, so
I'm kidding.
I take notice right there.
I'm kidding.
You really coming that tone right now.
I'm kidding.
It's not Miles, but we alluded to this a couple weeks ago, and we wanted to have this discussion in person to talk about the mental health journey, and talk about also the aspect of support and what support looks like, especially as business owners, especially as people that have our own ventures and goals that we want to do. But I know Greg wanted to, start it off and talk about the space of mental health, your personal journey, and concerning like the workplace. We see Russell Westbrook is kind of alluding to everything that's going on at the workplace is affecting his family, and his family can't even come to the game. So that's on a $44 million paid person. One day we'll be making that, but as of right now, we aren't making that. But we still, as the regular people, deal with mental health, especially at our workplace. So Greg started off. Tell us about your own journey.
No, yeah, I mean, I was like I feel like a lot of people of color. I mean, especially growing up, I didn't have that wasn't a stress conversation in my household. There wasn't a conversation about mental health and depression and how these things can affect you and how and just the idea that the mind was something you had to upkeep and any other way besides actually just learning. So that was never really a thing. It was always kind of just power through things. And it's toxic, right? The way kind of men handle things in general. So you kind of just deal with things. You don't really talk about it, yada, yada, yada. So, yeah, I mean, for me, when I heard about the Ben Simmons situation and the reaction to the Ben Simmons situation and even the reaction to the Russell Westbrook stuff, where you kind of see how you can see he's out here just in a deep depression, even while making 40 plus M's. And a guy like Ben, who's in a deep depression, who was, while making $40 plus million a year, it resonated with me because, and Chris and I are in the same boat here. I mean, I know I dealt with it differently than he did and things like that. But, coming from the last place I worked at, like I was in a place where I didn't even realize it in real time. until maybe way later in my tenure working at this place that shall stay unnamed. But I was going through some stuff, man. I was struggling. The environment started to weigh on me. I felt overworked, right? Tough culture where you really couldn't really speak up about what you were going through or how you really felt. Working at a place that didn't have a lot of people that looked like you. That was a big thing too. Just weren't black people, like, right? Let's call a spade a spade. There just weren't many black. Me and Chris, and maybe there were 2 other people at the time, right? On average, about 2 other black people in the office that or in the organization, period, within New Jersey, which is insane. So, the combination of those things, man, led to me weight gain, right? 'Cause I'm not going to the gym. Right. And for me, anyone who knows me, I'm playing basketball all the time. If I'm not here right now, I'm playing basketball.
Yes, sir.
It's, that's what I'm doing. So, I'm not playing basketball every night. I'm working from like 7:40 a.m. I was our first meeting. So sometimes 8 at night, that became the expectation, and like sometimes they wouldn't even tell us like when we could go home. Like, in fact, they never did. It wasn't like a thing. It wasn't a spoken thing. Like they were kind of just like, hey, if you haven't hit your goal yet, right,
you better stay here.
You got to stay here. And so it's like an unspoken thing. And if you leave, you're shamed for it. That you hear about it later. So it was a real toxic environment. I mean, I can get into so many details, but the way it affected me was, like I had never been through anything quite like that in my life, where I felt like just not myself. Ariana saw it. My fiance saw it. The way it weighed on me. The stress I was under, the fatigue, right? The fact that I didn't really want to do anything. Like, I just didn't really want to do anything. I was just kind of like, and the worst thing was just the way that I felt night to night, because obviously you got to get up and go to work the next day.
Yep.
So you're dreading it, and you're so like just viscerally upset. And that's where I was at for 1 year and 7 months, about almost 2 years, right? That's where I was at. Mentally, it was a tough place for me. So I understand people say like, how the workplace can affect their mental health, because listen, you're working when you're with your family.
Yep.
So if I'm in that environment all the time, I'm not happy most of the time, because I'm not happy doing what I do. It's just a tough place for me. So I mean, I've been there, I understand it. It was a real struggle for me, and that's since then, obviously you learn, and I've learned throughout my experience, you got to do what's best for you, not just from your pockets perspective, but also from a mental health perspective, and making sure you're dealing with the right people, you're around the right people, because people who uplift you, people who understand, people who are going to put you in, make sure they're putting you in position to succeed, and also care about your well-being, right? And it's just goes beyond the dollar, right? That place was very financially centric. It was very focused on how much money you can make the company and how much money you can make yourself. But really, it was like, oh, you can make this much money, but that's all guys, because it's really about how much money you can make them by you burning yourself out.
Of course. So for our listeners, I'm sure they want to know, and for people that's going through it now, what did you do to get yourself back into a good mental health space? Like, how did you go about getting out of that rut?
I started caring a little less about the workplace a little bit. I didn't negotiate with them. I don't negotiate with terrorists. So I started to kind of change the way I felt and the way I acted at work. And what I did was, like if they were saying, hey, want to work late tonight? I'm like, nah, I'm going to the gym. Like I can't. I'm not doing that. Like I just started to say no. No is a powerful word. When you work hard and you bring something to the table, and I know this is just a workplace perspective, but let's keep it there, because that's where it was at. When you work hard and you're someone that people respect, you have a lot more power than you may think. And I think that's the thing that kind of goes over people's heads. And it went over mine, and Ariana will tell you, I think sometimes I'm a little humble to a fault. And so I started to say no more. I started to put myself first. I started to be like, yo, no, I'm gonna go coach this AAU game. I'm gonna go coach this high school basketball game. I'm gonna go do this podcast. I'm gonna go just do things that make me happy. Because if you're not doing things that make you happy, ultimately, right? We all have jobs, and not all of us are fortunate enough to do the thing that we love for a living. So you need to do things and pick up hobbies, and pick up passion projects. Like, if you're not picking up passion projects, it's tough. So that's what I did. And also, I was getting out in the court more. I was playing back, because for me, that's my sanity. It's my sanity being able to play basketball. So I was doing that more too. So I started to negotiate less with them and really just take care of myself. And I got selfish. but it was for all the right reasons, and it really did help. And that was while I was there. And then ultimately, right, while I'm doing that, I'm looking for a new job because I need a new home. I need a new environment. I need to surround myself with different energy every day. So that way, when I go home, people who love me get the best version of me, because you weren't getting the best version of me because I wasn't happy.
Yeah, I think what you hit on is super important. But a lot of people too are in the same position maybe that we were in, right? And I'm not talking about the specific position. I'm talking about lifestyle position. There's people that are working jobs that they hate, and they have to work that job because they need a paycheck,
Absolutely.
right? But you know, our situation was different because, you know, we're young and we're still trying to figure out, you know, our goals and our passions in life for what we want to do long term. But at the end of the day, like Greg said, you got to do what's best for you at the end of the day. You got to know your worth, period. If you don't know your worth and why you're doing what you're doing, it's probably not going to work out in the long run because you're going to be unhappy. You don't want to be a slave to anybody else. That's not to say, oh, you need to work for yourself or anything like that. No, you know, find a job that you like and go with it until it doesn't make you happy anymore. And then if it does lead to that, you know, you got to find your plan B. And I think for a lot of people, it's just finding that courage to say, hey, this isn't what I want. Let me start working in the direction that's going to get me to where I want. And I think people can be hesitant in that aspect, and that can lead them to in a position where, you know, they're feeling stressed out about the current situation.
I think you hit the nail on the head right there. You got to start working towards that. We are not, I don't want anybody to get it confused when you watch this episode, when you listen to it. We are not saying to go quit your job just out the blue. Because trust me, I'm in a situation. I'm in a situation where I legit had this conversation last week where I called my wife and I'm like, yo, I'm dead serious about not to go to work tomorrow. Had a conversation with one of my mentors, and the thing is, and I can only talk from a perspective of a man. I can only talk from the perspective of a black male. Everybody on the show can attest to this. At the end of the day, especially if you're a man, your job is to provide. Your job is to make sure that you're bringing money into the household. You cannot just be like, I'm not going to work at all, unless you got it like that. But all of us at our age, we all still have to work. We all still have to bring money in. We have things called bills. Like, this adulting life ain't the funnest. So you have to work towards that. You have to work towards trying to find that new job, trying to find that new area, or going into entrepreneurship. Whatever the case may be, you have to work towards it. Until then, you might still have to keep that job. You might have to still work there. And like Greg said, though, you find things, though, that help you to keep your sanity. You know your worth. You know, all right, I'm not doing OT. Not this week. I had to do what's best for me, my mental health. And also, I think it's a conversation you even have with some people not going to listen, but whether they listen or not, they're going to have to respect it. Yo, I'm not doing OT because if you want my best me to bring in the most money for you, I need to be good mentally. And right now, I'm not in a good mental space. Y'all overworking me.
Yeah.
They respect it or don't respect it. Hey, they don't listen, fine. But I told you, because you, in a sense, they're going to have no choice but to respect it. Because look, you as the owner, you as the manager, you're trying to make as much money for the company, more money in your pocket. If I'm one of your top performers and I'm great at my job, don't you want me at my best?
Right, and that's going to show up too, right? If you're not at your best and you're feeling drained mentally, like Greg can attest to, I can attest to, I'm sure you can attest to it.
Oh, I'm going through it right now.
There was times where I went home and I would literally be so miserable, and I'd take it out on my wife. I wouldn't talk to her, you know, I wouldn't give her the attention that she needed because I had so much anxiety and I was just so mentally stressed that, like, I didn't want to go back to work the next day, but I knew I had to, right?
Yeah.
Because I didn't have a plan B, and I'm not the type to just, okay, not going to work and not making money isn't an option for me. When
it's
you
not.
Got rent and you got mortgages and you living alone and things like that.
It's
you
not.
got a wedding to pay for.
It's not.
You know, and all that other stuff that's going on. But at the end of the day, too, there has to be a point where you're tired of your situation enough to do something about it. And for so long, I didn't know how to do something about it. You and I, we used to complain to each other all the time about the situation, right? But that's all it was. We would just complain about it and go back to doing the same thing, being the same pawn and doing it over and over and over again until you started saying, all right, let's look for jobs. And you actually started looking for those jobs. And once you got a job, you were there for a year and 7 months. I was there for a year and 10 months, right? Once you got a job, I'm like, damn, if Greg can do it, I can do it.
Mhm.
So let me get to it and let's start looking for jobs. And that's what it is. Like, it came to a boiling point for me. I was so tired of my current situation. I didn't like feeling that way. I knew my worth, and I knew, hey, this is not how it's supposed to be. I am not supposed to be working from 7 in the morning until 8 o'clock at night every single day. You know what I'm saying? There's plenty of jobs out there that are paying more in less hours doing the exact same thing, and there's a better support group within that organization or whatever the case is. And again, we were in a sales career, right? So it was very heavily focused on like how much money you can make, and that's great. Like if you want to make money and that's your passion, but at the end of the day, you have to know what's best for you. And that we're just saying that wasn't what was best for us at the time. And the last thing I'll say in regards to this topic is when you're going through something like that, it shows you a lot about yourself, right? And the one thing I appreciate about everything I went through with that company, I'll never change it for the world, because it showed me how strong I really am mentally. And it showed me that, like, no matter how tough things get, you didn't quit. You kept pushing through until something else better came along, or that aligned more with what the vision you had for yourself. So, whenever things get tough mentally, like, just have a plan in place. Like Greg said, find passion projects that you can do to get your mind off whatever it is you're going through. Talk to people, have a good support system. And again, work towards a better vision that you have for yourself and in the direction that you want to go in. Because you're going to, throughout that journey, you're going to find out things about yourself, like you're a strong individual and that you're a strong-minded person that can keep going and getting through certain situations.
That's facts.
We speaking to somebody right now. I know people going through it. I know people that are working at that same at company that shall not be named.
Company X.
Company X.
We dropping the name in the bio. Tune in.
I know. Yeah, we know people that are working at that place right now that listen to this podcast that are friends of ours and that follow the podcast and tune in, and so I know where they're at mentally, and I know exactly how hard it is to get up out of there and all that stuff. But again, for everyone that journey's gonna look different, and for everyone it'll affect everybody differently.
Yep.
Just because it affected me in a way where I was able to find my way out of there and mentally get through that time because I was able to pick up passion projects and stop negotiating with said terrorists, doesn't mean that that's what you're gonna do. You may not be like me. You may still be negotiating with said terrorists at day to day, and and that could
explain what you mean by terrorists.
You're terrorists,
but
that's the thing though, and that's what I'm saying. Like, yo, it's bigger than just me in my example, but that the terrorist is the boss at your job, or is the supervisor at your job that's giving you an extremely hard time day to day, and the person that is not even taking into consideration how you're being affected by their leadership style.
Oh, leadership styles is very, very
because
very important.
Facts. You know what I mean? Like, this person who has a job to lead you, like for my example, the person who led me, she was younger than me. Like she was great at her job, at the technicality of the job, but in terms of leading people, just wasn't there. That just wasn't what she was. That wasn't who she was. She wasn't at that point in her life yet. I don't have no ill feelings towards her or nothing like that. I don't think she's a bad person. I think she was just really serving the company's greater goal, and that's fine. But that's the thing is, when you're in that situation, you got to deal with someone who's supposed to be leading you, and they don't understand what buttons to push and when to push them, and they don't understand how to talk to you and when not to talk to you, and when and they don't see social cues. Hey, he's not on today. He's not on today, so let me chill. That you don't have that sense of those sense of boundaries and how to kind of interact with people. Yo, it instantly makes your work environment toxic. Instantly makes it toxic. So like, greater point is, not everyone's gonna deal with it the same way I dealt with it. I dealt with it in a way where I was like, no, like I'm gonna go do what I do. I'm gonna go do what makes me happy. Sometimes your passion projects turn into things that get you paid. Coaching turned into a thing that got me paid a little bit, on the side, and I it's fulfilling for me. This podcast is a place where it's an outlet for me. I never thought I'd be in a position where I could do this. It's fun for me, and one day, God willing, it'll get me paid. It'll get us all paid
for sure.
You know what I mean?
It's
it's also about putting yourself first. I think that's the biggest thing. Mental health is about putting yourself first. I really think that's the biggest thing that I learned about mental health from my own journey. I don't know what everybody else thinks about it, but I think it's about putting yourself first. Hey, man, do you care about yourself enough to say no, to stop negotiating with terrorists, to stop putting your needs last, to do what you love? If you do, then you'll be in a better place.
I think, alluding to what you just said too, depending on what your lifestyle is. For me, it's knowing who you are and whose you are. So being that I'm a believer and that my father is God, I know I deserve a certain level of respect. I deserve a certain level of peace, a certain level of mental health, that God wants me to be in good mental health. God wants me to be good physically, emotionally. And if I'm in a place that's not producing that, I stay in a place of prayer to give me the strength till God opens a door elsewhere. Because sometimes you are not given and you're not afforded the opportunity to leave like that.
Right.
Now, y'all know the vibes if y'all haven't, and if you're new to the show, I have no problem, and you might get annoyed or whatever. I'm going to talk about God regardless. You look at the Israelites, they did not want to be enslaved to the Egyptians as long as they was. Mm-hmm. But it took time for God to raise up Moses to get them out of that situation. And I know God gave them the strength, just like you just said, you didn't know how strong he was. They was enslaved for years. God gave them the strength to get through that time. Mm-hmm. I know their mental health probably was messing with them. I know emotionally and physically they probably was going through it. But they didn't die from it, and they got through it. Some people died, of course, along the way, but they got through it. And I know for me personally, I'm going to get through it. I am not, and I don't care if they watch it. I got coworkers that follow the page. They know the vibes. I ain't at that job, it pays the bills. That job pays the bills, and that's about it. Mm-hmm. Ain't many of my brothers or sisters there of color. I got my Caucasian brothers and sisters there, but brothers and sisters of color, ain't many of them there. That weighs on, for me, that weighs on the mental too, because you don't understand what I'm going through. A lot of times they don't understand that. A lot of times they're insensitive. A lot of times things happen at the job. Who am I talking to outside? You feel me? Like, you're at work majority of the time out, and then you with your family. Mm-hmm. So who am I talking to about certain things at the job with? Yeah,
the way society is constructed, you're spending 50, 60 hours a week doing that 9 to 5, doing that 9 to X amount of time, sometimes 7 to X amount of time job. So if you're not surrounded by like-minded people or people that you can even relate to in any kind of way, well, you're in a pretty bad position, right?
I've shared with y'all, even just like not even the deeper topics of what's going on with the Black community, but yo, talking about power. Nobody at the job watches Power.
Yeah, man.
You feel me? Like
music.
Nobody.
Yeah, I think people also instantly assume that when Black people bring this up, it's simply about Black people getting killed in the street by cops or traumatic experiences. No, it's not. It's simple everything. Stuff. You know what I did at work? We had a happy hour at work yesterday, and I like my new job, by the way. I like the people I work with. They're all dope. They're all pretty dope for the most part. But we were talking at work, and I brought up Chloe and Halle Bailey, the twins. Mm-hmm. Very talented, right?
The Beyonce clones.
The mini Beyoncés. And I brought it up, and no one on the call knew where they were. No one. I'm like, yo, really? Y'all don't? Damn. Okay. I was like, meanwhile, they talking about Mel Gibson and blah, blah, blah. I gotta know all your references.
Passion of the Christ.
Yeah, Friends and Jennifer Aniston. And
by the way, that's an overrated show, Friends.
I like that show though. I do like it show. I like this show.
It's good, but it's overrated.
Yeah, The Office. I
overrated.
I love The Office. I love The Office.
I love The Office too, but I'm taking Abbott Elementary right now over it.
Wow. I'm taking it because I have to take it. That's all I'll say. If I don't take it, then y'all gonna call me the C word. I don't want to be called the C word. But I love Michael Scott. I love Dwight. That show is so good.
Yo, keeping it a stack, the genius of it, of them breaking that fourth wall and having it be like they're doing interviews at the job, like
Yo,
to under.
that
I'm
was
a
so
nerd and
good.
I'm a nerd in that way when it comes to movies and TVs.
Yeah.
How The Office did that
They
concept.
revolutionized TV.
We see it kind of happen like
Parks and Rec.
Abbott Elementary, like
Parks and Rec. All born after. And
After
the
Office.
casting, that job they did was phenomenal with that Office. The Office, and also the jokes. You can't get them jokes off. If anyone knows me, I love a good crude joke. I say crude things all the time that I can't say. so the Office was like heaven for me. Oh my, it was so funny. There was no joke that was out of bounds, and there was all jokes. Like it came from a good place. I love that show, bro. I could watch it over and over again. But again,
That's part of something for your mental health.
yeah, yo, every
Turning on
night,
The Office,
bro.
Mine
When I was
was
working at
TV.
my last job, every night before I went to bed, I was watching The Office.
Yeah.
It was a feel-good show for me to remind me that it wasn't just this like terrible, hellish mindscape I was in all day working at this place, because I had something to get my mind off of it. I would turn that on real quick. In addition to that, I'm doing long distance with my fiance all throughout that process. COVID. My girl lives 500 miles away. I'm taking flights down to Houston all the time to go see her. It was a difficult time. It was a very difficult time for me. I was struggling, Your money. Well, like I said, when you working,
he was over there with Drake.
When you're working that hard, you get paid. You do get paid. Okay, you do get paid. I was good at my job, So that was the good thing. But the bad thing was just at what cost.
That's the other thing too. Before we even close out, that's the thing that I always find so crazy in these situations. Sometimes for me, and obviously you guys can attest to this too. I deserve this certain level of respect, this certain pay raise, this pay scale. I deserve this stuff because your grandmother know, your uncle know, your baby mama know. Tone, he a worker.
Facts.
Tone, he gonna put in the work. I'm good at my job.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really good at my job. I may not be the smartest person there and have the 15 degrees, but nobody can ever say at any job, nobody outworked Tone.
Yep.
Nobody outworked Tone. My old job, my boss, and we gonna end it off. My boss took us out for drinks. He got tipsy. This man looked at us and was like, yo, I'll be in the bed with my wife in the morning and I'll be ready to get for work. Go ahead to y'all. And my wife be like, is Antonio opening up? And I'll be like, yeah. And she'll be like, well, you could go back to sleep. Antonio, he got everything. This was at my last job, but they refused to give me the raise that I wanted to get. You, tipsy, tells me that you purposely do not come in on time.
Yep.
Because I'm there.
Yep.
So, again, talking about mental health, how good I am at my job. And I don't get the respect.
It's a lot of that, man.
Of it. And that's the thing where it's tough. And for those that's going through it, find your escape, man. Find your thing that helps you stay sane, whether it's prayer, whether it's TV, whether it's playing ball, whether it's playing a sport, whether it's painting, whether it's going through therapy,
you make bowls or something. You make bowls, ceramics. You make whatever
cooking,
whatever makes you happy, man.
Whatever it is,
you gotta find it. You gotta really tap into that creative side of yourself and find that childlike joy that you have for something. Maybe whatever you grew up like. If it's playing baseball and you're too old for it, go find a softball league
or something,
man. Or
like
go
that.
play.
Yeah.
Go make sure every day you go out and play catch with your little brother or something, or your sister, or your girl, or your whatever, your significant other. Just go out there and do something that makes you happy. Because if you don't, that dark space can swallow you up. And it also manifests itself in other ways in your life.
Exactly.
And you project all of that frustration onto other people around you, and it's not a healthy thing. That's really what saves you. Love yourself enough to take care of yourself. Love yourself enough to put yourself first. Love yourself enough to do the things that you love. and put yourself first in these situations, and you're going to be in a good space. I think mental health is all about caring about yourself. That's the way I see it. How much do you care about yourself?
And
Question you got to ask.
If you care about yourself and you take care of yourself, you're going to be able to take care of others and give others the best version of yourself.
Facts.
That's a word from Pastor Greg and Pastor Tone.
You know the vibes. If you stay ready mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, you ain't got to get ready. Bench mob. Peace.
Peace.